Welcome to Her Subconscious Blueprint, your no BS space for subconscious healing, bold breakthroughs, and manifestations, and becoming the version of you that lives the life that you dream about. I'm Jenn Boyt, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new healing hype girl. Today, we're diving into a conversation that I know is going to land with so many of you because I see it in myself and I see it in so many other women. I see it in my friends, and most importantly, I've lived it myself. And this is one of those topics where once you see it, you can't unsee it. It starts to explain so much about why you feel the way you feel, why your relationships feel the way they do, why success can still feel heavy, and why you can be doing everything right and still feel disconnected from yourself. We're talking about masculine and feminine energy, what that actually means, how it starts to show up in your real life, how it gets shaped into childhood, and why so many women are living almost entirely in one energy without even realizing it. And more importantly, how to start shifting back into the balance so you can feel whole, aligned, connected, and actually able to receive the life you've been working so hard to build. And I want to be really clear from the very beginning. This is not about gender roles. This is not about what you wear, how you act, or fitting into some version of what the world says you should be. This is solely about energy. This is about the internal blueprint that you are operating from every single day, often without even realizing it. Because when your energy is out of balance, life starts to feel very heavy, disconnected, and exhausting. And when it's in balance, you feel powerful, creative, magnetic, and deeply alive in a way that doesn't feel forced. So let's start with what we actually mean when we say masculine and feminine energy, because I think this gets misunderstood a lot. Masculine energy is linear, structure, logic, protection, and doing focused. It's about goals, direction, problem solving, providing, building, and creating safety through actions and control. It is the part of you that says, I've got this. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward. Let's make plans. Feminine energy is intuitive, creative, receptive, and being focused. It's all about flow, connection, emotion, beauty, surrender, nurturing, and receiving. It is the part of you that says, what do I feel? What do I need? What is actually aligned for me right now? And every single one of us has both energies, regardless of gender, regardless of identity. Both are necessary. Both are powerful. Both are meant to work together. But most of us were never taught how to hold both. We were taught how to survive. And in that survival, we overdeveloped one energy and disconnected from the other. And for a lot of women, especially high achieving, independent, capable women, that looks like living almost entirely into the masculine energy. And it doesn't always look like what you think it does. It looks like control. It looks like needing to have everything figured out before you can relax. It looks like constantly planning, constantly thinking ahead, constantly trying to anticipate what could go wrong so you can fix it before it happens. It looks like independence to the extreme, that I don't need anyone. I got it all. I can do it myself. And on the surface, that can look like strength. It can look like confidence. It can look like power. But underneath it, there's often a quiet exhaustion happening. It looks like being praised for being unstoppable, for being the one who always gets it done, for being the one everyone can rely on, while inside you feel like you've never actually get to put anything down. It looks like being uncomfortable receiving help, compliments, support, or even love without feeling like you need to give something back to earn it. It looks like trying your worth to your productivity and your achievements, where if you don't cross things off your list, you feel like you've failed. And if you rest, you feel guilty instead of restored. And it shows up in relationships in ways that a lot of women don't even realize it's happening. You become the leader, the planner, the fixer, the emotional regulator, the one who holds everything together. And it feels safer than letting someone else lead. But at the same time, it leaves you craving a level of intimacy and partnership that you can't seem to access. Because you want to be held, but you don't know how to stop holding everything else and everybody else. You want someone to say, I know you can do it all, but you don't have to. I got you. And the truth is, this doesn't just come from nowhere. This is learned. This is conditioned. This is something that your nervous system adapted to at some point in your life because it had to. And for so many of us, it goes back to childhood. If you grew up in a home where emotions weren't safe, you were learned to push them down and focus on getting things done. If you had parents who weren't reliable, you learned to rely on yourself. If love was inconsistent, you learned not to need it. If there was instability, unpredictability, or chaos, you learned that control equaled safety. And I know for me, this was a huge part of my story. Growing up with a verbally abusive alcoholic stepdad where you're constantly scanning the environment, reading moods, trying to keep things from escalating, trying to protect yourself and your siblings, you learned very quickly that being in control is what kept you safe. You learned that if you can manage everything, if you can anticipate everything, if you can stay just one step ahead, maybe you can prevent the explosion. And when that becomes your baseline, that doesn't just go away when you grow up. That becomes your subconscious blueprint. That becomes how you move through life, how you show up in relationships, how you show up with money, how you show up in your body, how you show up with love for others and yourself. And for a long time, it does work. It helps you survive. It helps you build. It helps you achieve. It helps you get out of situations that weren't healthy for you. It's why you were able to leave the toxic relationship or build the career or raise the kids. This is how you were able to create stability where there wasn't any before. Your masculine energy is not the problem. It is powerful. It is necessary. It is a gift. But the problem happens when you live there all of the time. Because when you live in that constant doing, controlling, problem-solving state, your nervous system never actually shuts off. You are living in a low-level state of fight or flight almost all of the time. Your body is tense. Your mind is always running. Your heart has had a hard time softening. And over time, you start to feel disconnected from yourself, disconnected from your emotions, disconnected from your intuition, disconnected from your ability to just be present and enjoy life. And this is where so many women hit a point where they realize, I've built this life, but I don't actually feel the way I thought I would feel inside. And that realization can be really confronting because it's not about doing more. It's about doing different. And this is where feminine energy comes back in. Not as something you have to become, but as something that you come back to. Because your feminine energy was never gone. It was just suppressed. It was just the part of you that didn't feel safe to express. And reconnecting to that doesn't happen through force. It happens through safety. It happens through slowly teaching your nervous system that it's safe to soften, that it is safe to receive, that it is safe to not have everything figured out all of the time. And I think this is where people actually get it wrong. They try to be more feminine by performing it, by changing how they act, how they dress, how they speak. But that's not what it's all about. This is about embodiment. This is about learning how to feel safe in your body without constantly being in control. This is about allowing yourself to receive without immediately feeling like you have to give something back. This is about being able to restart without guilt. This is about being able to feel your emotions without having to fix them or push them away. And that can feel really uncomfortable at first, because if your system is used to control, stillness feels unsafe. If your identity has been built around being the strong one, the one who holds everything, letting go can feel like losing control. But what if the exhaustion you feel isn't because life is too much? What if it's because you're carrying it in the wrong way, in a way you were never meant to? And this shows up in every area of your life. In relationships, you might say you want a partner who leads, who provides safety, who holds space for you. But when it comes down to it, you don't actually feel safe letting someone else lead. So you either attract partners who don't, or you unconsciously take over that role. In money, you might be constantly doing, hustling, pushing, building, but you don't feel safe receiving. So even when money comes in, you don't feel settled. You don't feel secure. You don't feel like you can relax into it and accept it. And this shows up in your relationships with money in a really powerful way. Because money is not just strategy. It's not just numbers. It's not just budgeting and saving and investing. Money is deeply tied to the nervous system and your subconscious sense of safety. If your masculine energy is overdeveloped, you might be someone who is constantly doing when it comes to money. You're working, you're building, you're planning, you're pushing, you're thinking about the next move, the next goal, the next level. You're very action-oriented, which on the surface looks like success. But underneath that, there's often a lack of safety in receiving. So when money comes in, your body doesn't relax. You don't actually feel secure. You don't feel like you can slow down. You feel like you have to keep going, keep producing, keep providing, because if you stop, something might fall apart. And this is where a lot of high achieving women get stuck. They are incredible at creating money, but they don't know how to hold it, enjoy it, or feel safe with it. There has actually been studies in neuroscience and behavioral psychology that show that when the nervous system is dysregulated, especially in chronic stress state, the brain prioritizes short-term survival over long-term stability, which means even if you logically know how to manage money, your body might still be operating from, I need to keep going, or I'm not safe. So you end up in patterns like overworking, undercharging, overgiving, or constantly raising the bar so you never actually arrive. On the other side, if your masculine energy is underdeveloped and your feminine is leading without structure, money can feel chaotic. You might avoid looking at your finances, resist creating a plan, or lean into, it'll all work out, without actually taking grounded action. And this is where balance becomes everything, because your masculine energy is what creates the container for money. It's the plan, it's the structure, it's the boundaries, the decision. But your feminine energy is what allows you to receive, hold, and actually feel safe with money. Your masculine says, let's build it, while your feminine says, let's receive it. Your masculine says, let's create the plan, while your feminine says, let's trust and allow. And when those two are working together, money stops feeling like a constant push and pull feeling. It feels like it's flowing. You can take aligned action without burning yourself out, and you can receive without feeling guilt or feeling unsafe. In your health, you might be pushing your body, overriding its signals, ignoring rest because your masculine is driving everything. But your body is asking for something different. And this is why balance matters. And the same patterns show up in your health and your body, because your body is constantly communicating with you. But if you've been living primarily in masculine energy, you've likely been taught to override it. Too much masculine energy in your health looks like pushing, forcing, and controlling it. It looks like strict routines, rigid plans, ignoring your body's signals, and trying to discipline your way into feeling better. It looks like working out even when your body is exhausted. It looks like dieting in a way that disconnects you from your hunger cues. It looks like telling yourself to just push through instead of asking what your body actually needs. And over time, your body starts to respond because the nervous system is a direct connection to your physical health. Chronic stress, which is what happens when you're constantly in the doing, controlling state, increases your cortisol levels. It impacts your hormones. It disrupts sleep. It affects digestion, and it can even weaken your immune system. There's studies that show long-term activation of the stress response can lead to things like adrenal fatigue, burnout, anxiety, inflammation in the body. And a lot of women don't realize that what they think is discipline is actually dysregulation. On the other side, if your feminine energy is present, but there's no masculine structure, it can look like inconsistency. You fill into what your body needs, but there's no follow through. You have the intention to take care of yourself, but without grounded action, nothing actually changes. So again, it's not about choosing one, it's about integration. Your masculine energy gives you structure, consistency, and follow through. Your feminine energy gives you awareness, intuition, and connection to your body. Your masculine says, we're going to show up for ourselves, while the feminine says, let's listen to what we actually need. And when those two come together, your health becomes sustainable. You no longer force your body into something it doesn't want. You're working with it. You're no longer ignoring the signals. You're responding to them. You're no longer stuck in the cycles of burnout and reset. You're creating a rhythm that actually supports you long term. And that's where real healing happens. Because your masculine energy builds the structure, but your feminine energy is what allows you to actually experience the life you're building. Your masculine creates the plan, while your feminine allows you to enjoy the moment. Your masculine takes action, while your feminine receives the results. And when those two are working together, life starts to feel very different. It starts to feel more aligned, more natural, and less forced. You don't have to give up your strength to access your softness. You don't have to stop being driven to feel peace. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to expand into all of who you already are. And I always like to describe this as a dance. When you're all in masculine, it's like you're constantly leading, constantly directing, constantly controlling the rhythm. And that works for a while, but it's exhausting. When you allow your feminine in, there's flow, there's responsiveness, there's creativity, there's space. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you receive. Sometimes you move forward, sometimes you allow things to come to you. And that's where life starts to feel alive again. That's where you stop just surviving your life and you start actually experiencing it. So if you're listening to this and you're recognizing yourself in it, I want you to know that you're not broken. You're adapted. You learned where you needed to learn to survive. But the good news is you don't have to stay there. You can start creating safety in a new way. You can start allowing yourself to soften without losing strength. You can start receiving without feeling like you have to earn it. You can start living in a way that feels balanced, aligned, and actually sustainable. Because at the end of the day, this is about coming home to yourself, to the version of you who doesn't feel like she has to carry everything alone, to the version of you who can be strong and soft, independent and supported, driven and at peace. And when you start embodying that, everything around you shifts. Your relationships, they shift. Your opportunities shift. Your experience of your life shifts. Because remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And I am so full of love and gratitude that I get to share my story with you. This is her subconscious blueprint, where we don't just chase the dreams, we become them. So go out and be that version of her today. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.